whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you might be doing. We wish to welcome you to the Silverlight Show. The Silverlight shines to illuminate that which lies hidden in darkness. For those of you tuning in today, we welcome you in. This will be a bit of an unusual show because it's a reaction to a petition that wound up coming to my attention. Now, in the Canary Islands, they're proposing building an octopus farm, obviously underwater. And the idea is octopi are a very lucrative organism. They're used in tons of dishes in Asia, and even over here we enjoy calamari. Now, disclaimer, Silverlight always screws up whether squid or octopus is used in calamari. And that's a personal failing. So if I said the wrong thing there, I apologize. But I'm not against the idea of eating an octopus. Well, of course, since this is a petition a year, I'm kind of okay with that because that also means that it's jobs in order to handle and feed and all that sort of thing with the octopus. It's a relatively sustainable supply, and there's a market for it. Those are the positives. The article never really mentioned much about it. It was busy going about how intelligent octopi are, which I do not deny. No, I believe octopi are quite intelligent. There's stories at aquarium where octopi wind up trapped or unaliving themselves just simply because they're smart enough to explore, and they find themselves, because they can squish their body down and do all sorts of shape-shifting tricks, they find themselves in a filter, in a pump, or somewhere that's just not good for them to be. Well, that's going to be true in a farm or in the wild. So I'm going to call that a net zero. They might have more opportunity on the farm. Don't know. I didn't do the environmental impact studies on this. And then this petition is trying to reach out that there's going to be more pollution in the area. Well, name me a spot that there isn't pollution being created by humans. Go ahead, I'll wait. And the Canary Islands, they've been on the map since the 1400s. Since the Portuguese showed up there, there's been trash being thrown overboard. Don't know how clean those reefs and everything are. It's like the Caribbean. If you ever go swimming in the Caribbean, it is like a desert underwater, and that's simply because the beaches have been combed for tens of thousands of years by various people. So there's nowhere for life to really establish itself, and that's where you get those beautiful sandy beaches because there's nothing there to stir up the water. But back to octopi. Octopi are intelligent. And oh, that was the other thing. They've also invented this way of unaliving the octopi. Gosh, can we get rid of this stupid censorship stuff? Unaliving the octopi, and that's basically flash freezing them in an ice slurry. So, yeah, your slushy from the local 7-Eleven is basically what they're doing. Now, as a Canadian, I can tell you being frozen is not a pleasant way to go. It just isn't. But you know what the alternatives are in the wild? They get spearfished. And even worse, the spear is only there to pull them into nets. Once you get them into a net and get them up wherever you're going to, you then have to properly kill them, which is usually done with a club. I think I'd rather freeze. It's, yeah, that's all steps. Because I looked up how do you get rid of an octopus, and that's the way it's normally done. It sounds like this fishery, what do you call a fishery for octopi? We'll just call it a farm. But this farm is actually going to extreme lengths to be as humane as possible. The problem with an octopi is it is intelligent, but its brain is also distributed on a longer or a wider distance in its body. Not like a human where, aim for the head. We all know this. We instinctively know that's where the brain is. And that's one of the reasons the octopi are so good at doing what they do. It's a distributed network, it's not a central architecture. And that's why they can squeeze their body down, they can do crazy things. The only bones in them are their teeth. Maybe I should call it tooth, really. But that's all they have. Anything else they can squish, contort, all sorts of things. And that's what makes them intelligent. I'm I don't really want to entertain the ethics of eating something potentially intelligent because I feel that would veer into territory about the soul. But if you want to, you can talk about it in the comments. I'd certainly be up for a lively debate on that. And I can see why people are uncomfortable. Um, this petition came from some sort of vegan based organization. And I do commend them. They're thinking with their hearts, and their hearts mean well. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, vegans and their avocado toast, they need to eat a good steak. No, 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 no. Silverlight is very much into free will. And that's how they choose to express their free will in trying to save more creatures, especially intelligent ones. But my counter to that is, humans eat everything that they possibly can. Um, in the Philippines, Balut, the locals eat unhatched chickens inside of the eggs, and supposedly it's the most tasty thing possible. I'm not even going to touch China. But in Africa, they have bush meat. Do you know what bush meat is? It's our cousins. The orangutans, there's no orangutans in Africa, but the monkeys, the great apes, basically. So chimpanzee shares 98% of our genetic code. Into the pot it goes. You can't look at a chimpanzee or a bonobo and say, hey, there's no intelligence to this creature, and some would argue there's a soul inside that creature. Not getting into whether it exists or not, I'm just saying some people say this. Again, discuss it in the comments if you feel strongly about it. I think this is good in a lot of ways. Yes, I'm one of these freaks that thinks 3D printed food is actually going to be a good thing. For example, we'll be able to have bacon that Muslim people will be able to eat because it doesn't come from a cow. What a blessing. They can now have bacon double cheeseburgers. Um, I'm not sure what they're going to be making it out of. Probably textured vegetable protein and a couple flavors in a mixture. But it'll be a way to feed more people that we just simply don't have at the present. And they can eat what they like. We'll all be vegan eventually. And yeah, for those of you who saw Soylent Green, I am aware of how that movie worked out. I don't think that's going to happen. There's still more cow in terms of tonnage than there are humans on the planet. And cows are intelligent. Anybody who's been around an animal knows it's intelligent. I don't think about that when I go to buy a steak, some hamburger, or whatever it might be. Chickens, not the most intelligent thing in the world, but it's still a creature. It has a life. It wants to continue living. Unfortunately, due to the tragic nature of their upbringing, they turned out to be really good at laying eggs. And it turns out they taste pretty darn good as well. And most people in the world, you can bring anything to a person, you bring a chicken dish. Because it has the fewest restrictions in religions and the fewest people who are offended by it. It's a cultural symbol. Not just any particular race, because every culture that had a chicken brought it with them and nurtured it to the point where it became one of their staple foods. Octopus, okay, there are allergies to it. Um, a lot of people think of it as icky, and I can tell you, when I was younger, I experimented and ate a lot of things. The one thing I really felt bad about eating was an eel, and that wasn't sympathy for the eel, it was the feeling I got after eating the eel. So it's something I don't eat. But humans are going to eat. And my little fantasy 3D food printer, it does not exist yet. They're still trying to get the basics down. We're at lab grown meat at the present time. And again, don't have a problem with it, but we are that far away from any sort of functional replicator like in Star Trek. And even in Star Trek, they complain it doesn't taste as good as when it's actually made by a human. To quote Spaceballs, even in the future, nothing works. I think that's the only line I can quote that I don't have to swear. But so when we talk about farming a resource, like an octopus, even if it is intelligent, we have to realize that there's always going to be pushback from groups that have everything's best interest at heart. And in a world where millions, perhaps billions, are starving, I'd rather put food in bellies and wrestle with the ethical implications later. That's me personally, and this is a step to making more food available. As long as the population keeps going up, and everything says it's going to go up till about 2050 when it starts to crash, but we will always need more food. And with prices the way they are, it's just simply unavoidable that people are going to try to make money off of said food. As I said before, the way that they're killing them, I wouldn't like to go through either freezing or, you know, getting shot and then clubbed over the head. But at least this new facility is trying to do the more humane option. You know, the opposite of a lobster. Oh, it'll just go to sleep in the boiling water. I never really believed that. And I like that modern chefs are killing it quickly and humanely with a single knife stroke rather than just putting it in and pretending, well, the thing's fine. And the octopus is sure as heck not going to be happy when it winds up in that ice slurry. But there's a lot worse ways to die out there, and the alternative is them being eaten by a predator. Yeah, trust me, if we get a choice in reincarnation, there's no way I'm coming back as an animal. If you're a mammal, you get to clean yourself up after going to the bathroom, and if you don't know what I mean by that, watch some videos. And mosquito, what a horrible life there. No, I want to be at least a human, if not something higher up the chain. But these octopi and this farm, I really think there's room for that. And yeah, if you happen to like an octopus sandwich or whatever the heck you make with an octopus, this is your lucky day. I'm not going to link to the petition because, quite frankly, I cleared my screen and sometimes I do stuff like that. But it was something worth thinking about. And an interesting topic to talk about. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Silverlight Show. If you did, please like, share, because sharing is caring. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Don't forget to click the notification icon so that way you can be kept up to date every single time we let loose a new show. And we hope you have a fantastic day.